Hi class, welcome to lab 5, handling text files. In this lab we are going to be using the commands that we learned in our previous lecture to operate with some files. We're going to be using some built-in files that Linux have that have some special purposes. One of those is the etc password file, which is used for storing accounts information. Each entry in this file represents a user account or a system account in your Linux system. These entries are separated by 7 fields, each using a delimiter of a semicolon. Each field means something differently, as you can see over here. So we have the first field, which means the user account's username, the second field, which at some point in the past used to contain the password, but that's no longer the case, the account user number or UID, and you have the group UID or GID. You also have a comment field that normally contains the full name of the user. This is something that you enter when you were installing your Linux system. Then you have the user's home directory, and finally the default shell that this user logins with. Um, Before we start working in this lab, there is some pre-work that we have to do. So let's do the first one, which is create a folder called lab 5 and change it to lab 5. I already did that, so I'm just gonna go to lab 5. And then before you start working, I want you to prepare your VS Code environment to get this job done, right? And I do not care if when you open VS Code, the folder is already open. To avoid any issues, as I saw in the last lab, we are going to do this from 0 to 100. So I want you to click on File, open Folder, and then open your CIS 106 folder. Again, I don't care what you had over here. Open your CIS 106 folder, not the file, the folder. Right? Once you do that, let's do a git pull. Let's do a git add period. Let's do a git commit task started lab 5. Oh, I missed the minus m. Sorry. Perfect. And then we are going to do a git push. Perfect. This is going to make sure that GitHub and our local computer is synced. Once we've done that, let's back up over here and let's continue. If you want examples of the command, go to Linux commands, and if you want to go to see the presentation, you can go over there. Before you start working on this lab, please make sure that you watch the review of the lecture. If you need if you need some sort of help or review, or there is a particular command you didn't understand properly, you want a second explanation, just go watch the video. It's in the tutoring section, in the tutoring playlist of the YouTube channel. It is also in the GitHub README page, and it's also in Slack. Go watch it and then come back here, right? If there was something that was fuzzy, just go do that. Read the presentation. Arm yourself with the knowledge before you go to war. Right? Okay. So with that said, let's have some fun. So question 1, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do question 1. If you read the presentation, if you pay attention during class, and if you watch the video, if you did any of those 3 things, you should be able to do question 1 without a problem. I will not do question 1. What I will do instead is that I will show you something. So once you have answered these questions, and I need to see the commands that you use to answer these questions, take your screenshot showing the specific area of the terminal that is giving me the answer to the question, because if I cannot see the answer in your terminal, then I assume you didn't answer the question, right? So what we are going to do is that we're going to go into VS Code, right? Inside our labs folder, we're going to create a file, and we're going to call this lab5.md. Then over here, we're going to call this, let's give it one title, called Lab 5 Handling Files. Let's zoom in a little. Handling Files. And let's put answers to lab, right? And here we're going to put question 1. 1, then question 2, then question 3, then question 4, and then question 5. And we're gonna put our images there, but not yet, right? So we're gonna save this. Next, I'm gonna click over here, and I'm gonna go inside images, and over here, I'm gonna create a folder, and I'm gonna call this folder lab 5, right? Because I'm gonna put all my images for lab 5 in a folder called lab 5 to make my life easy, right? And over here, I am going to create a couple of placeholders, right? And I'm gonna call this image 1 for answer 1, right? Again, this is just a couple of placeholders just to make my life easier later. And there you go. Now that I have this file complete, I'm gonna save it. This is just a skeleton for me to work organized. Right, so let's assume that you have already answered question 1, right? So, for instance, I'm gonna do display the content of the Etsy password file. I'm gonna display the content of the Etsy group file instead. This doesn't answer the question because I'm showing a different file, but I want you to have an example. So I'm gonna do cat Etsy group, right? And as you can see, this takes the entire screen, which doesn't work for us. So what you want to do is go all the way up, take a picture of this, right? Let's take a screenshot of this. So, take a screenshot of my terminal. That's good enough. And I'm going to save it. And I'm going to go inside CIS 106, Images, Lab 5. And I'm going to name this picture Q1, question 1.1.png. Done. As you can see, that picture successfully shown that I answered question 1 because I can see the command and I can see a little bit of the output, right? That's what I'm using for grading you. If I cannot see the command, I can't grade you. So I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna call this image 1.1, and this is gonna be called period / images, and then lab 5, and then Q1.1. Now, analyze this URL over here. I'm going one step backwards because currently this file is located inside the labs folder, right over here. So I need to go one step back, then I need to go inside images, then inside lab 5, and then I can access question 1.1. That's why this path is written that way. And by the way, that period is not needed. And if I preview my file, my answer is right over here. Legible, and on top of everything, properly formatted. Okay, so I'm going to close that. Now, answer these other questions. Make sure that you take proper screenshots that show the answer to your questions. And then I'm going to move along because I think that explains question 1. Question number 2. Now, question number 2, this we're going to work together. So, the cut command is very useful when you're working with files that are formatted in a particular way. The Etsy shadow file, the Etsy password file, is formatted in such a way because the fields are separated by a delimiter, which is the column, right? So we're going to be cutting this file using that particular column to organize it in a way that is easier for us to just digest or work with. So question number 1 is asking you, display the first field of the Etsy password file. So display the first field. So if I do cat Etsy password, notice that I get everything. I don't want everything. What I'm asking you for is give me only the first field. So this guy and this guy and this guy. So the first thing before the column. And how can we do that? Okay, well, I'm gonna do cut minus d, then I'm gonna specify the delimiter, and then I'm gonna use minus f to specify the field, and I want the first field, and then the file, which is Etsy password file. And this gives me the first field. As you can see, the output of the command cuts off the command itself. So I need to scroll up a little bit and provide this screenshot that contains this, right? You don't need to capture the whole thing. You just need to capture a little bit of the output, and the command itself. And if you want to be, even better, highlight the command, right? If you want to be like me. So I'm gonna do a save, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm saving it in images, lab 5, and I'm gonna name this Q1 for question 1, period, sorry, Q2 for question 2, period 1, right? And I use the same convention with the other ones, right? I'm gonna click on save, and I'm gonna go to my lab 5, and in question 2 I'm gonna do same thing, 2 periods, images, lab 5, Q2.1, save. Gotta go back to my terminal and back to my lab. Okay, so display the last 5 users in the Etsy password file. Display the last 5 users. So let's deconstruct this. Let's deconstruct it, right? So how can I do this? This definitely is going to require more than one command, because I remember that I can do this. I can do tail -5 and then Etsy password. But this gives me too much information. Way too much information. They only want to know the last 5 users. That means that I need to repeat the command that I use over here plus the command that I use right over here. That requires the use of the pipe. So what we're going to do is that we're going to take the output of tail -5 and we're going to pipe it into cut. And we're going to say, hey, cut, I want you to take the output of that command and cut it using the same delimiter and give me the same thing. Gives me the first field. As you can see, I didn't have to specify a file over here because I am working with the output of the tail command. And there you go. These are the last 5 users in my system. I'm going to take a screenshot of my terminal. And I'm going to save it. However, I know that in this picture I have not only, well, I only have the answer to question 2, so I guess q2.2.png. And then I can come over here and I can just double this, then 2.2. Done. Okay, now I'm gonna continue with this. Display display a list of all the users and their designated login shell separated by an equal sign. I will not do question number 3 because I provided you with several examples. I give you one example in the video, one example in the website, and one example in the presentation as well. I want you to try to crack that one on your own. It's just a modification of the first command that you offer over here with a couple of more options. So you have all the knowledge that you need to figure out how to do question number 3. At the end, in the end, it needs to look like this. Let me show you. So it needs to look like, how can I show you without giving you the answer? I got it. I'm gonna pause the video. It needs to look like this. That's the goal. Okay, so let's clear our screen. So once you have completed that one, take a screenshot. You don't have to show me the entire output of the command. I just want to see a little bit and the command that you ran. So I'm going to do clear. And let's continue over here. So the sort command. Sort is actually very, very easy to use, right? But what I want you to use is, I want you to use sort with cut. So let's read. The sort command is an amazing tool, blah, blah, blah. That's great. Go buy me a gift. Cut the first field, the first and the third field of the Etsy password file, and sort the output. Okay, so we're gonna do cut -d, right? And we want to cut the first and the third field, so we're gonna do f comma minus f 1,3, right? And then we're gonna do Etsy passwd, right? That's gonna cut the first and the third field. But we're not done. We're not done because they want us to sort that. That means that I need to pass this to sort. However, notice that these have numeric data. I want you to sort it, and if you want to win that extra point, well, how about you sort it by the second field? So you can do whichever of the two sorts you want. You can just use a sort like I did, or if you want, you can figure out how to sort it using the second field instead of the first field. And that's it. Take a screenshot of the command, take a screenshot of the output. And I think I have done that at this enough time to give you an idea of what exactly I want you to do. So Q 2.3, sorry, 0.4, I believe. Yes, let me see. Yeah, 0.4. Save. Repeat the previous command, but this time only show me the last 5 entries. I'm not going to do this one. There is another command that you need to run. So there is another pipe that you have to use. Figure it out. Let's move along to question number 3. Use the WC command to answer question 1 and 2. Not gonna do this. Too many examples in the presentation. You should be able to figure that out on your own. Grep, that I want to do, because grep is a little bit more complicated. So, now, using grep, how many users can log in with the bin bash shell? So it's easy. All we have to do is grep and then provide the string, which is bin bash, right? And then the particular file that we're working with, which is etc password. And as you can see, it gives us this output. If you want to be even more granular, you can pipe this to WC and count the number of lines that you get over here. And that's even more granular because it's going to give you an exact number of the number of users that have the bin bash shell. That is in my computer. In your computer, it will be different, right? So take a screenshot, take a picture of this, and that's your answer for question number 3. How many users have the S-log? No, I'm not going to give you the answer to that one. You can do that on your own. Display your user's information. I'm not going to do this one. What I'm asking you over here is, I want you to only show me your username in the output of grep. So look for your user's information inside the etc password file, right? You should know how to do this if you have paid attention on how to use grep by now. You should know what string are you going to put in here so that you can display the output of your user as it is listed in the etc password file. So I'm at question 4 and 5. Do it on your own. Okay, so let's go take a look at question number 4. Question number 4. We're going to do 1 to 5. Hopefully. Okay, so the IP command is used for managing network interfaces, right? It can do a lot of things. Assign IP addresses, remove IP addresses, block IPs. It can do a lot of things. The IP command is a Swiss Army knife tool of managing your network interfaces in Linux. In this case, we're going to use it for displaying information about your IP addresses, right? And we're going to parse the output of the IP command using the tools that we have learned alongside with output redirection. So let's take a look at the first command. So run the IP address command. Let's take a look at it. IP AD. It is this mumbo jumbo over here. A lot of stuff. So, but they want us to display all the lines that contain the string in it. Okay, no problem. I'm going to pipe that to grep, and I'm going to tell grep, hey grep, give me all the lines that contain the word in it. Okay, beautiful. How many lines did you get? So there is another pipe that you have to lay over here because I want to know how can you figure out the exact number of lines that you're going to get. Because if a computer has 20 interface cards connected to him, right, you should be able to figure out a specific number. So there is another pipe that I want you to lay over here to figure out the number of lines that match the particular string in it. I'm not going to tell you which one it is. If you leave it over here, you're not going to lose any grade. But I want to challenge you. Please take it further. Again, if you leave it until this point, I will not take any points off. But I command you, I challenge you to figure out the exact number. What other command will you use for this? So, let's take a look at number 2. Run the IP address command and display all the lines that match the string in net6. Display the output in reverse order. Now, this requires some sort of sorting. There are 2 ways that you can do this, right? I am not going to show you how to display the output in reverse order. I want you to figure this out. You have enough information to figure it out. Again, you can use the sort command for this, but there is another command that you can use for doing that. So, let's take a look at this. It's literally just this. And then another command that you're going to add over here with another pipe. That's your job. Figure out how you're going to display the output of this, but in reverse order, meaning this line first and then this line second. Okay, so let's take a look at question number 3. Run the IP address command and display all the lines that match the string init or init6. Sort the output and save it to a file. Okay, now over here, you need an example. So what I want you to do is, let's pretend we're all stuck. So how can you look for two strings instead of one? Match one or another word. And as you can see, it is very simple. That's all we have to do. Inside the quotations, we provide the first string, pipe, and then the second string. But this pipe doesn't mean redirection, right? This is an OR statement. So we're going to do IP address grep give me init or init6 and then enter. Oh, I forgot the -e argument. There you go. Perfect. Now, obviously, this gives you the same output as you doing just grep init, because init6 contains the string init. But if you were to be doing two different streams, like init and loop back, and just to be sure, let's turn off case sensitivity. See, now it looks for two strings, loop back and then init as well. That's the whole point of me. That's why I want you to practice that particular form of working with grep. Okay, so let's move along and see if we can take a look at the last question for question 4. Run the IP address command and display only the third line that matches the string in it. This is a combination of pipes that you will have to use, right? So now let's do IP address and do grep init. Now, we only want the third line, right? That's it, 1, 2, and 3. So the first thing that I want to do is that I'm going to pipe this to head -3. So it's going to give me the last 3 lines. This is the last line. So I can pipe this to tail -1. And that's it. As you can see, I'm using 3 pipes over here, actually 4. So first, IP address, which gives me the entire output of IP address. Then I take the output of IP address and send it to grep, which is going to give me all the lines that match the string in it. And then it's going to send it to head, which is going to give me the last 3 lines from the output of grep. And then it's going to give me the last line with tail, which is going to end up being the third line over here. So let's take a look at the last one, which is run the IP address command. Display all the IPv4 addresses sorted. You have an example over here inside grep on how you can achieve this. Figure it out. Okay, so let's take a look at question number 5. So in question number 5, we're gonna do a couple of more interesting things. We're gonna generate a little file that contains some basic information about our computer, right? That's all we're gonna do. So let's do clear. And the first thing that we're gonna do, we're going to run the following command, echo, right? And then we're gonna save that into a file, right? Into a markdown file. So we're gonna run this, and to save this to a file, we use the greater than sign, and I'm gonna call this mypc.md, right? .md indicates that it is a markdown file. Done. If I type ls, notice that I have a file called mypc.md. Now, you can use any naming convention that you want. I just decided to call mine mypc.md. You can call one whatever you want. Run the following command again and append the output to this file. So we're going to run the command and we're going to do 2 greater than signs and then the name of our file, which is mypc.md. And this is going to not overwrite what's in mypc.md, but append to mypc.md. So if I type as enter and I do cat mypc.md. Oh, sorry, I made a little mistake over here. This is supposed to go in quotations. There you go. Perfect. That's better. I need to fix this. Oh, okay, the command has been fixed over here. Now includes the quotations. So if I do cat echo, sorry, cat my PC.md, notice that my two lines are successfully saved over here as we intended them to be. Okay, so next, the ls CPU command displays a lot of information about a CPU of about the CPU that your computer has. So if you do ls CPU, right, you're gonna notice that this is a ton of stuff. What you're gonna do is that you're gonna use the knowledge that you have already about the grep command to only get the lines that have the information that I have over here. So I want the line that has architecture, the line that has the word thread, and the line that has the line that has the number of cores, the line that has the model name, and the lines that have the CPU frequency and the virtualization technology that the CPU supports. And then the output, you're gonna append it to the file that you created over here, right? So how are you gonna do that? Okay, we have the lscpu command. We're gonna send the output of lscpu to grep, and we're gonna tell grep, give me the line that contains the word architecture, right? As you can see, I get the line that contains the word architecture, but I need to save this right into a file, which is the mypc.md file that I created. So you're gonna append that to mypc.md, and you're gonna repeat the process for the rest of the information that you have over here, so that you have the information saved. Once you are done with that, we're gonna move along to question number 4, in which you are gonna use the echo command one more time, and that also requires to be fixed. So let's fix it right away. Okay, that's fixed. That's fixed. Okay, perfect. So we're gonna run this echo command over here, and we're gonna append that to mypc.md. You are gonna use the ls hardware -c memory command to repeat the process over here. The only difference is that you're gonna look for the memory size, and that's the only thing that you're going to append to the ls CPU, sorry, to the mypc.md file. Once you are done with this, sorry, I turned off the DPI on my mouse. There you go. That's better. Once you have done that, once you have completed the steps 1 to 5, right, and you have taken your appropriate screenshots of the command that you have used to figure all of this stuff out, you are going to do a cat of your file. So cat mypc.md. How are you going to be graded for this question? If all the information that you are requested is appended to the file successfully, and if the commands that you use ran successfully. If you have any questions, you can find me on Slack. You can message me directly and make an appointment with me, or you can show up to the tutoring sessions tomorrow at 7 p.m. You can also use what a college student is supposed to: research, read the book, read the presentation, read the website that we have over here with examples. With that said, don't forget to constantly save your progress in your file, and when you are done, do your git add, git commit, done lab 5, git push. Don't forget to do the steps correctly, and when you are done, close and shut your virtual machine off. Just turn it off or pause it, however you want to do it. With that said, I say goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video.